All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, man. Yo, look like we got another case of the hell nulls. Teens sneak into the Cave of Death, Lost Episode 5. Now, again, with these titles like this, you know, you just want to say why? Why? Especially when all the signs are there, people know you ain't supposed to be here, you know. But, you know, people like to find out the hard way. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with this, but I'm pretty sure it ain't going to end up good. So, again, appreciate y'all coming over. Make sure you guys are subscribed to Mrballen's channel. He's incredible, the Flannel King himself. All right, so shout out to all the good humans. Of course, link is always in the description. We ain't going to waste no more time. Let's jump right into it.
On the evening of August 17th, 2005, 21-year-old Stephen Hunley was having dinner with his 5 friends when somebody mentioned the secret cave.
See?
Having grown up in Provo, Utah, Stephen and his 5 friends had all heard the legend of the cave that was up in the mountains near Brigham Young University, where supposedly in the back of this cave, there was this underwater tunnel that led to a back room where there was this air pocket inside of which, dark rituals and human sacrifice took place. And it was
First of all, shout out to Brigham Young. I believe that's the grandfather of my favorite quarterback, Steve Young, and the Niners. But this man said sacrifices, and come on, y'all. Come on, y'all.
Pocket inside of which, dark rituals and human sacrifice took place. And it was an interesting story, and everyone had heard of it, but no one thought there was any truth to it. But that night, one of Stephen's friends, 21-year-old Jennifer Galbraith, dropped a bombshell on the group. She said not only is the secret cave real, but that she had actually been to it and knows what's inside. And so, of course, they're like, give me a break. You have not been to the secret cave. It doesn't even exist. And she would say, no, I'm telling you the truth. I have been to something that I'm almost positive is the secret cave. And so the group's kind of smiling at her and they're like, all right, we'll indulge you. Tell us where the secret cave is and what's inside. She said the cave she went into was on Y Mountain, so that's right next to Brigham Young University. And it was just north of the Seven Peaks golf course. And she said the actual entrance to the cave is inside of this little stretch of boulders where if you weren't looking closely, you couldn't even tell there was a space in between the boulders.
See, look at that, man. Already feeling claustrophobic.
That you could walk down into. You would really have to be looking in between the boulders to see this little opening, where it descends about 10 or 15 feet to the cave floor. Once you climb down that, there's no water, it's just getting down to the entrance of the cave. Once you get down there and you're on the cave floor, in order to actually go into the cave, you need to hunch down because the ceiling of the cave is no higher than 4 feet.
Oh, no.
It gets even lower. And so you crouch down and you got your flashlight and you walk about 100 feet to the back of the cave and you'll see there's this beautiful little pool of crystal clear water. And if you shine your light into this pool of water, you'll see on the bottom, about 5 feet down, there is this little tiny opening just big enough for a person to get through. And that is the secret underwater tunnel that is 15 feet long and it leads up to an air pocket on the other side.
So we talking about a cave within a cave within a cave. You know, of course, in the beginning, I'm like, no, I ain't doing it. I ain't doing it. But if I was convinced to make it down there, the part where he said you have to hunch over because it's only about 4 feet high, and then sometimes it get even lower than that, I'm turning around. Again, I'm not going in the beginning, but I'm just saying, ain't no way a cave within a cave within a cave. I'm good.
Water tunnel that is 15 feet long and it leads up to an air pocket on the other side. Jen told the group that clearly this is not a sanctioned cave that you're allowed to go exploring in. In fact, if authorities knew about it, they probably would just block it off. But she said whoever had found it first had tied a rope from a rock on one side of the 15 feet underwater tunnel through the tunnel to the air pocket, and it was tied to some wood on the other side.
And that looked
so that
creepy.
when you dove in head first into this little tiny tunnel, that you could basically pull the line and it would pull you through to the other side. Jen said she'd actually been to this cave just a couple of months earlier with another group of friends, and she said she was really scared about doing the underwater swim, but what she remembers about the experience, what really stood out to her, was how cold the water was. She said, I got to the other side no problem, but I was just so cold, I had to immediately turn around and go back out and warm up again. At this point, Stephen and the other friends are very intrigued by what Jen has just told them. She sounds like she's telling the truth, and it sounds like she definitely was in, some cave. Whether or not it was the secret cave or not, it really didn't matter. They were just really interested in this cave, which they were now referring to as the Cave of Death. And so they started saying to each other, hey, let's just go tonight. Let's go check out the Cave of Death tonight.
See, right there, the excitement of possibly dying. Hey, let's go check it out tonight. Yeah, let's just go tonight. You had plans? Nah, forget that. Let's go to the cave. That's those moments right there that people have where you just shake your head at, man.
Death. And so they started saying to each other, hey, let's just go tonight. Let's go check out the Cave of Death tonight. And so by about 2, 3 in the morning, the group was like, yeah, let's go. And Stephen, unfortunately, he had to work the next day, so he couldn't go, even though he really wanted to. And so as the group headed off for Y Mountain, Steve...
More like fortunately, not unfortunately, fortunately for him.
Day, so he couldn't go, even though he really wanted to. And so as the group headed off for Y Mountain, Stephen headed home. So the group of 5 arrives at the golf course parking lot, which is apparently at the base of where this cave entrance is going to be on this mountain, according to Jen's description. They hop out, they're wearing flip-flops and shorts, it's mild weather, and Jen assured them the walk up to the boulders, the entrance of this cave, it's not very far. And so they start walking up the mountain, and I'm sure some of the people in the group were pretty skeptical that this place even exists, but they keep on walking, and at some point, Jen says, there, and she points at a cluster of boulders, just like in her description. And so they walk over and they poke their heads over the boulder, and just like she described, there's this hole in the ground, and they shine their lights down into it, and it looks like there's that flat spot about 10 or 15 feet down, and the group can't believe it. This place really does exist. All of a sudden, the group is really energized. They're nervous, they're excited, and they're all kind of clambering their way down this 10 or 15 foot section down to that start point. And while they're making their way down, one of them, 26-year-old Joseph Ferguson, he's like, you know what? I don't really want to do this anymore. You guys can swim through the Tunnel of Death and the Cave of Death. I'm going to stay out here. We're probably not allowed to be in here anyway, so, I'll be the lookout, and I'll wait for you guys when you come out again. The other 4 chastised him briefly, but ultimately...
Shout out to him. That's exactly what I was talking about. When I got to that point, I'm like, no, bro, no. Hell no. I'll talk myself out of it for sure. I don't care how much they talk about, oh, come on, man, you scared? Yeah, I'm scared. Go ahead and go with that. Scared and smart.
The lookout, and I'll wait for you guys when you come out again. The other 4 chastised him briefly, but ultimately they didn't really care, and they turned their flashlights on, they turned around, and they crouched down, and they began walking through that low ceiling area down towards the pool of water. Joseph turned around, climbed up, and he sat on one of the boulders, and he looked down towards that little entrance area, and for a little while he could hear the group still talking as they made their way farther underground, and then eventually he couldn't hear them anymore. Joseph had no idea how long this whole process was supposed to take. Was it going to be 5 hours before he saw them again, or was it going to be 30 minutes? He didn't know. And so after an hour, he started to think, okay, this feels a little bit long. And so he climbed down off his boulder to that little entrance area, and he poked his head down and looked out across the area with the low ceiling to see if he could see flashlights or hear anything, but he didn't. And so after a little while, he climbed back up onto the boulder, and he waited another hour, and he still hasn't heard them yet. And he climbed down one more time, and he looked. Again, no light, no sound. And so at this point, he decides he has to call the police. Police and rescuers show up, and they were shocked that 1, this cave even existed, and 2, that no one had boarded it up yet because it was such a huge hazard. But either way, they began sucking water out of the tunnel and pumping air back in because Joseph had told them the group was going to be swimming through this tunnel where there was apparently this air pocket on the backside. And so they figured pump some air in there, keep them alive until we can get them out. The pumping lowered the water in the tunnel by about 2 feet, at which point rescuers could actually just go into the tunnel and they wouldn't need to hold their breath. And
that's a good shot right there. I know it's not like a actual photo, but it brought so much vision to the story. That's a great shot. That's me right there realizing I'm about to turn my ass around. That's what that is.
At which point, rescuers could actually just go into the tunnel and they wouldn't need to hold their breath. And that's when they reached Jen's body about halfway through. She was angled in such a way that she must have been coming back from the air pocket, and the other three were stacked up right behind her. Investigators believe the group was able to successfully swim through the tunnel the first time into the air pocket. And they were in there for a little while. That can hold up to 8 people inside of there, plenty of air. And at some point, they decide to go back. And so Jen was going to be the first one to swim back. She was the one that brought them in there. She'll be the one to bring them out. And the other three, it's presumed, were right on her tail. Maybe they didn't want to be the last ones inside of this creepy dark cave, and they were worried that if they didn't go out with the group, they might get lost somehow. And so they all basically jumped in right after Jen. They're all right on top of each other going through this tunnel. And so Jen made it about halfway before she got stuck on something and she drowned. Now, the other 3 swimmers were right on top of her. And so when the second swimmer came up to Jen's body, they couldn't have gotten through. They might have tried, but there was no way to get through. It's pitch black. You're now blocked in front of you, and the other 2 swimmers are right behind you, blocking your way out. So the second swimmer is pinned in the middle of the tunnel. They can't move. They can go in reverse, but only if the third and fourth swimmer in realize what's happening and they too go in reverse. And again, it's pitch black in a tight little tunnel, and they don't know what's going on. So second swimmer gets pinned. Third swimmer is really in the same position too. They're blocked by the second swimmer, and the fourth swimmer is blocking their retreat. And so the fourth swimmer is really the only one that had the ability to save anybody's life. They would have had to go in reverse and start that train of getting everybody to go out in reverse.
Right.
But this is real life. And so what probably happened is Jen made it halfway through the tunnel before getting stuck and drowning. The other 3, one by one, realized they were trapped inside of the tunnel. They couldn't go forward. They couldn't go back.
And they
can't
panicked.
turn around. It's pitch black. Before long, they're thrashing and grabbing onto each other because they're panicking. And then they start inhaling water and they drown too. After the bodies were removed, there was some discussion about maybe finding a way to make the cave safe so people could go in there and enjoy it responsibly. But they looked at it and they said there's just simply no way to make this cave safe.
Like, would you want to go in a cave where you knew people died at? Like they're like, oh, you know, these people died down here, but you know, we made it safe, so you can. Ain't no way. Ain't no way.
It's unbelievably dangerous, no matter what safety precautions we put in place. And so they decided to pour cement inside of it and cover it with rocks. And their only regret is they didn't find it sooner to do that sooner, because they could have prevented this tragedy. So that's going to do it, guys. If you found the secret in today's video.
Now, for the one that survived, because I remember you guys always talk about survivor's remorse. I wonder, was he saying, because in my mind, I was thinking the first time he went and checked, because he was like, okay, it's been about an hour, let me go check. I'm wondering if he was thinking, had I called the cops then, like at what point did they start to drown is what I'm asking, you know. But at the same time, it probably would have been too late anyway, you know, because that could have happened like he checked on them an hour later, but that could have happened like 30 minutes in or something. Because like he was saying, when you panic and, you know, it's pitch black and you don't like, man, that's why I just stay away from anything. Like, I don't mess with it. I don't. You know, a lot of people feel like, oh, if I do this, it'll be a great story to tell. But guess what? There's a if. If you make it out. Whenever there's a if involved, I ain't messing with it. You know what I mean? Just give me some clean, wholesome fun. That's it. Again, man, appreciate you guys coming over and watching. Hope you guys enjoyed Mrballing's storytelling. It's just amazing, these pictures that he showed, man. The ones that like don't be having nothing to do, like not an actual photo, like they pick some really, really good pictures to show exactly what they're trying to tell. But yeah, y'all stay safe out there, man. Peace out.